How could the future king take an interest in a woman who was far from the ideal of beauty? Whispered both aristocrats and common folk. But the heir to the throne had already made his choice. Prince Edward, attractive and charming, had been a desirable match from a young age. His high status, refined manners, and melancholic blue eyes made him a public favorite. He embodied the splendor and grandeur of the British Empire, yet behind this polished facade lay something else entirely. Born in 1894 as the son of King George V, Edward felt the weight of his destiny from an early age. He was destined to ascend the throne, but an upbringing marked by strict discipline and emotional distance from his parents left its imprint on his character. Instead of confidence, he grew up reserved, sometimes even stubborn. During World War I, Edward was given an officer's rank, but he was never sent to the front lines. His German ancestry made the royal family wary of fueling speculation. Around the same time, his father, George V, changed the royal house's name from Saxe-Coburg and Gotha to Windsor, severing any visible ties to Germany in the eyes of the British public. Edward's political views often shocked those around him. He despised the Bolsheviks for toppling the Russian monarchy, yet he viewed fascism with surprising leniency. Both his family and the government found him unpredictable, sometimes even reckless. Emotionally detached, Edward quickly grew weary of strict palace etiquette. He sought ways to bring color into his life, often engaging in affairs with married women. Even at 40, he continued his liaisons with women who already had husbands, and rumors even suggested that he had relationships with men as well. By the late 1920s, Edward had taken a favorite, Thelma Furness. It was through her circle that he met her friend, an American woman named Wallis Simpson. The Simpsons frequently attended the same social gatherings as the heir to the throne, and soon Edward found himself visiting their home more and more often. Wallis, born into a wealthy American family, had dreamed of freedom from a young age. In 1916, she married a naval aviator, but the marriage was unhappy. Her husband was jealous, drank heavily, and had a cruel streak. Eventually, she escaped and obtained a divorce. Her second husband, businessman Ernest Simpson, seemed like a more stable choice, but over time, their marriage also began to crumble. In London, Wallis became close with Thelma and later with Edward himself. Their first meeting left her with mixed feelings. She knew she could attract men, but her looks were often a subject of debate. However, the prince was captivated, not by her appearance, but by her wit, ease of conversation, and vibrant personality. They saw each other more and more frequently. Soon, Edward began neglecting Thelma and spending more time with Wallis. Their growing closeness did not go unnoticed. In 1935, one of the servants reportedly caught them in bed together. This only fueled the rumors. Yet Wallis continued to live with her husband, denying any affair. What was it that so captivated the heir to the throne in a woman older than himself? Some speculated that he simply preferred older women. Others believed that Wallis fulfilled his emotional needs in a way no one else had. She knew how to be warm, attentive, and unlike anyone else in his life. Strange rumors circulated in society. Stories of Edward painting her nails or slipping her feet into slippers. But Wallis enjoyed the luxury and attention. She was fascinated by the fact that she had become the center of such a dramatic affair. The royal family treated this relationship with cold disdain. In 1934, George V and Queen Mary ordered her name to be removed from the guest list for a reception at Buckingham Palace. In response, Edward arranged a secret meeting, introducing Wallis to his parents. The king was furious. After George V's death in 1936, Edward ascended the throne as King Edward VIII. Now he could no longer hide his love for Wallis. But the situation was complicated. British law prohibited the monarch from marrying a divorced woman. Furthermore, his political sympathies were causing deep concern in government circles. Realizing the threat to the monarchy, the government presented the king with an ultimatum: renounce Wallis or abdicate the throne. He could not accept the first option. In December 1936, he delivered his historic speech. I have found it impossible to carry the heavy burden of responsibility and to discharge my duties as king without the support of the woman I love. Edward VIII abdicated in favor of his younger brother, who became King George VI. Edward was granted the title Duke of Windsor and left for France, where he soon married Wallis. Their wedding was modest, without official ceremonies, and no member of the royal family attended. In the early years of their marriage, they enjoyed a carefree life in exile, but over time, the full weight of their isolation from the British court took its toll. Despite this, Edward remained devoted to his beloved, surrounding her with luxury and affection, while Wallis increasingly pondered the cost of their love. But their life was far from a fairy tale. In Britain, Wallis was viewed with contempt and was forbidden from using the title of queen. Their ties to Germany, especially their friendly meetings with Hitler, alarmed the British government. At one point, Hitler even considered reinstating the Windsors on the throne after winning the war. Edward and Wallis spent many years away from Britain. In 1952, he returned for his brother's funeral but was forced to leave Wallis behind in France. The royal family remained distant and unwelcoming toward her. In their later years, the couple lived in France, leading a secluded life, far from official events and public appearances. In 1972, Edward passed away from cancer, and 14 years later, Wallis followed. They were buried side by side in the royal burial grounds at Windsor. Even in death, they remained together, their fates forever intertwined in the history of the British monarchy. Share your thoughts in the comments, leave a like, and see you in the next story.